I'm standing on a brand new island in Toronto's Portlands called Ookwemin Minising. The land's been here for over a century, but it's been less than a year since it became an island. Let's find out more. This new island is part of the redevelopment of the Portlands area. I talked about that in my earlier video about the Portlands. There's a magic link up here, and I'll put a link down in the description so you can find it when you finish watching this video. First, the name. The working title for this island was Villiers Island, named for Villiers Street, which runs along it, which in turn was named for Villiers Sankey, a former City of Toronto surveyor. For the South Park fans, note that that's Mr. Sankey with an S. Here's the area on a map that he drew in 1902. As part of the redevelopment, the city decided to give Indigenous names to places in the Portlands. Now, we already have lots of places that have names that have Indigenous roots. Toronto, Ontario, and Canada are just three examples. But what we've usually done in the past is we've taken an Indigenous word and mucked with it. This time, the city gave the Indigenous community the opportunity to name the place themselves in a way that is meaningful in their tradition. And I'll try to pronounce these names as well as I can, despite not speaking Anishinaabe. So the name they came up with for this island is Ookwemin Minising, which translates as Place of Black Cherry Trees, inspired by the knowledge the elders had that when this land was in its former natural state, black cherry trees used to grow here. And black cherry is one of the species that has been planted in this area as part of the redevelopment. We've been messing with the course of the Don River for well over a century, not always with the greatest of results. The lower Don used to meander, as real rivers do, but in the late 1800s, we straightened it, turning it into a channel lined with concrete and steel, as I talked about in my video on the lower Don. Links in the usual places. The next thing we did was to disconnect its two natural mouths at the harbor and instead turn the Don's mouth to the east to flow into the marshes that used to occupy a much larger Ashbridges Bay that includes most of the area of today's Portlands. But since we were dumping raw sewage and industrial waste into the river, that just fouled the marshes even worse than they already were being fouled by us dumping things like manure directly into the marshes. Next, we constructed the Keating Channel to connect the marshes to the harbor in the hopes that that would flush some of the crap out. Our next idea was to reconnect the Don to the harbor by connecting it to the Keating Channel. But that created a very unnatural 90-degree bend back there, which caused silt buildup and an increased risk of flooding. Finally, about a century ago, we just reclaimed all the marshland and turned it into the Portlands, which we then used as an industrial wasteland. In the late 20th century, we started planning to remedy some of the mistakes that we'd made. A lot of the soil was contaminated from the industrial uses, which had included things like oil refineries. So a lot of soil remediation was done. A new channel for the river was constructed through the area. The new channel meanders like a real river. It's not a concrete and steel box. It's lined with more natural materials like soil and stone and plants. It's not in the shape of a rectangle. It has banks like a real river. We built a new wetland on the south side where the new channel turns roughly from south to west. That wetland can be used as an extra outlet for the river when flow is high to help reduce the risk of flooding. The Keating Channel can also be an extra outlet for the river. Altogether, this should greatly reduce the risk of flooding in the Portlands, which is kind of important since they're being redeveloped. Obviously, the work on the new channel couldn't be constructed if it was connected to the river and the harbor, so there were plugs at both ends to keep the water out. The plug at the harbor end was removed in July of 2024, and then the plug at the river end was removed in November 2024, connecting the river through and finally making this an island. There's also a new park here, running alongside the new river channel, both on the shore of the island and also on the south side on the mainland. The new park also will extend a little bit to the north of the mouth of the river. The name of the park is Biidaasige Park. That too is a name chosen by the indigenous community, and it translates from Anishinaabe as sunlight shining toward us. Speaking of the light shining on this brand new river channel and its water, and more figuratively, the dawn of a new era of a more natural and less industrial environment in this area. Much of the park opened in July 2025, although additional phases will open over the coming years. Let's have a look around at some of the things in the park. Of course, the new river is the centerpiece of this new park. There's a spot to launch things like kayaks and paddleboards, with access from the park paths. And as you can see, lots of people are taking advantage of the opportunity to get out on the water and enjoy the lower reaches of the Don in a way that really hasn't been possible in living memory. You can't paddle too far north of the Commissioner Street Bridge yet, but that's coming. And the river isn't just popular with humans. A lot of species that used the river before we messed with it became uncommon, both due to pollution and the lack of natural habitat in a rectangular concrete and steel box, but many of them have been returning and making it their home. You don't have to take to the water to enjoy the park, of course. There's plenty of space on dry land. There are park paths on both sides of the river, and in addition to being able to cross the river on the sidewalks on the Cherry Street South and Commissioner Street road bridges, there's a pedestrian bridge in the middle of the park, too. Got kids? The park has lots of opportunities for them to burn off some energy. One section of the kids' play area is designed to resemble the Cheltenham Badlands in Caledon. And kids love water, so there's some of that, and some sand in the Badlands, plus these squirt nozzles nearby. There are lots of animals represented, many of them chosen by indigenous people. And yes, your kids can climb on them. This snowy owl has stairs inside so they can climb up and look out the eyes. There's also a stage in its belly. The audience area is designed to resemble a nest, and there are even a couple of eggs you can sit in. The trash panda is Toronto's unofficial mascot, and if that's more your kid's thing, this one is a play structure too. And it's right next to a picnic area, so you can fuel up again. There are even barbecues you can use in the picnic area. And there's this, Fire Hall 30, a designated historic building that's almost a century old. It's been alongside Commissioner Street the whole time, as a working fire hall until 1980, and then various other uses. It had to be relocated a short distance for this project, as the road was raised and realigned. It's supposed to open later this year as a community and recreation space with washrooms. It's one of many things still being built here. And if you give Canadians stones, they do this. And there you have it, Toronto's brand new island. I think it's a much more inviting place to visit than it used to be, although access is still a bit of an issue. It has limited connectivity to the road network, a number of the roads in the area are closed for construction, and there's limited parking around here. It has a good set of bike lanes, but it's kind of out of the way, and at least as of when I'm filming this, shortly after the park opened, the area is not well served by Bike Share Toronto. There are just a couple of TTC lines running through it, and there's nothing better than buses at this point. There are plans for a waterfront east streetcar line, similar to the one that runs west along the lakeshore through Harbourfront, but they're still early in the planning phase, and there's no funding for that project, so that's many years away. Still, I think it's worth making the trip out here. You'll be amazed at how much the area has changed. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. Please like and subscribe.